The loudest voice is not always the strongest. The quietest one often wins. Peace is more valuable than pride. Silence is stronger than any explanation. And distance, when chosen with clarity, can heal more than confrontation ever could. Think about it. How many times have you wasted energy trying to prove yourself right, only to walk away feeling emptier? The truth is, when we react loudly, we often lose more than we gain. But when we choose silence, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the quiet reminder that not every battle deserves your voice. In Zen teachings, silence is not the absence of power, but the highest form of it. Like still water that reflects the moon, silence reveals clarity that noise can never give. When you step back, you allow space for healing, not only for others, but also for yourself. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is walking away without anger, without explanation, carrying nothing but your dignity. Imagine holding a fragile flower in your hand. If you grip it too tightly, it breaks. But if you let go gently, it returns to the earth, whole and unhurt. In the same way, letting go in silence allows life to remain intact, unpoisoned by resentment. So the next time you're tempted to fight, ask yourself, is this worth my peace? If the answer is no, then silence becomes your shield, and distance becomes your medicine. True strength does not shout, it simply walks away with grace. And now we arrive at the first part of today's journey, the quiet strength of silence. Silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is the summit of self-control and the purest reflection of inner maturity. When you stand in silence, you are not surrendering. You are standing in a space where noise has no power. So often in life, we burn ourselves out trying to explain, trying to defend, trying to prove something to people who are already trapped in their own story. Each word we add is like throwing more wood onto a fire that was never ours to tend. And in the end, what do we lose? Our calm, our dignity, our peace. But silence changes everything. It is the refusal to be dragged into a storm that isn't yours. It is self-respect in its purest form. In Zen wisdom, silence is called the voice of the wise. Imagine a calm lake on a moonlit night. It reflects everything but distorts nothing. Silence does the same. It reveals truth without interference. It does not mean you are powerless. It means you are discerning. You know when to use words like arrows, and you know when to sheath them, because not every battle is worth fighting. Silence is not suppression. It is not swallowing anger until it poisons you from within. No, silence is the art of choosing where your energy goes. It is the decision to stop feeding what drains you. Think of your peace as a fragile glass vase. Do you hurl it into the chaos of conflict, or do you hold it carefully, guarding its beauty? Every moment of silence is a hand that protects that vase. And here's something many forget. Silence doesn't just protect you, it transforms the space around you. When you choose not to argue, you leave the other person alone with their own words, their own actions. Silence holds up a mirror, sharper than any reply could ever be. And while they wrestle with themselves, you find room to breathe, to rest, to heal. Our culture often praises loudness. We equate noise with strength. But let's look deeper. The tallest trees grow in silence. The mountains never shout, yet they stand eternal. The sun doesn't justify itself, but its light reaches all. True power doesn't announce itself. It simply exists. Silence is this kind of power, steady, undeniable, and free from the need for approval. There will be moments when your silence confuses people. They may think you are weak, that you don't care, or that you're afraid. But silence isn't about them. It's about you. It's about honoring your own temple of peace and refusing to pollute it with unnecessary battles. Ask yourself, is this worth my inner calm? If the answer is no, then silence becomes your sanctuary. It becomes the quiet room inside your soul where you can return to yourself while the storm outside exhausts itself. Silence is also creation. In music, it is the pause that makes the melody possible. Without silence, there is no rhythm, no beauty, only noise. In the same way, silence in life opens the door to healing, to deeper understanding, to reconciliation. It is the fertile soil where new beginnings quietly take root. So when life pulls you into conflict, Remember this: you are not obligated to fight every battle, nor to explain your worth. Your silence speaks for you. It says, I choose peace over pride. I choose dignity over drama. I choose myself over chaos. In the quiet, you are not losing. You are rising. You are returning to the calm center of your being, where true strength has always lived. Silence, as we explored, is not weakness, but strength. And when silence takes root inside us, something remarkable begins to shine through: the quality of our energy. Which brings us to the next part of today's journey: the energy that speaks louder than words. People may not remember your words, but they will never forget your energy. Energy is the truest language of the soul. Long before we speak, people can sense who we are. You know this from experience. Haven't you ever walked into a room and immediately felt either warmth or tension, even before a single word was spoken? That invisible atmosphere is energy. It communicates more honestly than any carefully chosen sentence. When you step back from conflict, your silence is only half the message. The other half is the vibration you carry with you. Even without words, others feel it. If your energy is calm, they notice. If it is loving, they soften. If it is guarded, they sense the distance. Energy cannot be faked. Words may lie, but energy tells the truth. Think about moments in your own life. Someone might say, I'm fine, yet everything about their tone, their eyes, their presence tells you otherwise. Or perhaps you felt completely safe with someone who said very little, simply because their energy radiated kindness. This is why protecting your energy is more important than defending your words. Words can be twisted, ignored, or forgotten. Energy lingers. To guard your energy is to guard your inner light. It means choosing balance over drama, presence over promises, alignment over endless explanations. Imagine carrying a lantern in the dark. The flame is small but steady. Your task is not to convince others of its brightness. It is to keep the flame alive, sheltered from the winds. When you shift your energy, you shift your world. People aligned with your frequency will naturally stay, while those who cannot match it will quietly drift away. No anger, no arguments. Just the natural sorting of souls by vibration. It is like tuning a radio. When you change the frequency, only those broadcasting on the same channel remain. This truth can be both comforting and challenging. Comforting because it shows you don't have to chase or persuade anyone to belong in your life. Challenging because it asks you to release those who cannot walk beside your light. But remember, when one door closes in silence, space is created for another to open in harmony. Energy is also contagious. When you protect yours, you give others permission to do the same. Your calm steadies the room. Your presence becomes a sanctuary for those who have forgotten their own stillness. This is why the greatest healers in history did not need to shout their wisdom. People were transformed simply by being in their presence. So what does this mean for you? It means that the next time you feel tempted to explain yourself endlessly, pause. Ask instead, what energy am I bringing into this moment? Because that is what others will remember. Not the paragraphs you spoke, but the vibration you carried. Your energy is your silent signature. It is the invisible field around you that says, I am whole, I am aligned, I am at peace. And when you live in that energy, words become secondary. They still matter, yes, but they no longer carry the burden of proving who you are. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is sacred. Because when your energy is clear, you radiate light without effort. And in a world so noisy with words, your energy becomes the rarest gift of all. Sometimes silence shifts into something deeper, a kind of quiet energy that transforms the space around us. And from this energy, a new question naturally arises. What do we do with the wounds, the endings, the unfinished conversations? This leads us to a truth many of us resist but eventually must face. And with that, we will now move into the next part of today's video. True closure begins within. Closure is not something anyone can hand to you. It isn't wrapped inside an apology, nor is it hidden in an explanation that finally makes sense. True closure blossoms when you decide, with your own heart, that the past will no longer control your present. How many times have you waited for someone to come back and say, I'm sorry, or I understand now? How many nights were spent replaying old arguments, thinking, if only they admitted they're wrong, I could move on. But the painful reality is that waiting for someone else to repair what they broke often leaves us stuck, circling the same wound, giving away our power, delaying our healing. In Zen practice, closure is seen not as a gift from others, but as a choice from within. Imagine holding a heavy stone in your hands. You can stand at the river's edge for years, waiting for the person who placed it in your palms to come back and take it away. But what if they never return? Will you stand there forever, weighed down? Or will you choose one day to let it fall into the river and watch the water carry it away? That moment of letting go, that is closure. Closure means giving yourself permission to stop rehearsing the old story. It means no longer seeking validation from those who hurt you. It is saying, I do not need your apology to be free. I choose freedom now. And make no mistake, this is not easy work. It requires courage to stop waiting. It requires compassion to forgive, not necessarily to absolve them, but to free yourself. Forgiveness in this sense is not about excusing what happened, but about refusing to let bitterness live inside your heart any longer. Think of your life as a garden. If you keep watering the weeds of resentment, they will choke the flowers of joy, love, and growth. But the moment you stop feeding them, when you allow the past to rest, the soil of your soul becomes fertile again. That is when new beginnings find you. Closure is an act of self-love. It says, I deserve peace, even if they never admit they're wrong. I deserve to move forward, even if they never look back. Waiting for someone else to give you permission to heal is like waiting for the rain to fall in a desert. It may never come, but you have within you the well of water that can refresh your own soul. So if you are holding on, still waiting, I invite you to ask yourself, what would it feel like to let go today? What would it feel like to choose peace, even without an apology? Remember, liberation does not come from others. It begins the moment you decide to release the grip of the past and step into the freedom of the present. After choosing to release the past and finding closure within yourself, something sacred begins to appear, a quiet space, open and clear. But here comes another truth. This space, this peace is fragile. If you do not protect it, the noise of the world, the weight of other people's chaos will rush back in. And so we will now move into the next part of today's video, guarding the sanctuary of your peace. Peace is not a luxury. It is the foundation of wisdom, of love, of a life lived with clarity. Without peace, even success feels hollow. Without peace, relationships become heavy. Without peace, we lose connection with ourselves. Not everyone deserves a seat in the sacred space of your life. This can be a hard truth to accept, especially if you've been raised to please others or taught to always be available. But the reality is, each time you allow negativity into your inner circle, you pay with the currency of your peace, and that is too high a price. Protecting peace often begins with boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors with locks. You decide who may come in, how far they may go, and when it is time for them to leave. To say no is not selfish, it is sacred. When you decline what harms you, you are saying yes to what nurtures you. Think of your peace like a candle flame in the wind. If you shield it with care, it glows steady, illuminating your path. If you leave it exposed, every gust, every careless movement of others can blow it out. Guarding your peace means learning when to step back, when to walk away, and when to stand firm. Ask yourself, how many times have you sacrificed your calm just to avoid disappointing someone? How many times have you allowed toxic conversations, endless drama, or heavy expectations to enter your space because you were afraid of saying no? And what did it cost you? Your sleep? Your energy? Your joy? When you choose to protect peace, you are not rejecting people. You are simply choosing alignment. Those who resonate with your frequency of calm will stay. Those who thrive on chaos will naturally drift away. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. In Zen, peace is compared to clear water. If you keep stirring mud into it, through toxic relationships, unguarded energy, or self-neglect, the water becomes cloudy. But if you protect it, if you let the mud settle and refuse to pour more in, the clarity returns. Your peace becomes your mirror, reflecting wisdom, love, and balance back to you. Peace also strengthens your focus. When the mind is calm, your goals become clearer. When the heart is undisturbed, your energy is not scattered. Protecting your peace is not just about comfort, it is about protecting your future. It ensures that the energy you pour into your life is not wasted on battles that don't matter, but invested into the growth that truly does. So let this be your reminder. Peace is sacred. Guard it with boundaries. Guard it with courage. Guard it with the willingness to say no, and the wisdom to walk away when something is not aligned. At the end of the day, your peace is the soil where everything else grows. Your joy, your relationships, your dreams. Protect it, and you will find that life, even with its storms, feels lighter, clearer, and more deeply your own. Protecting your peace is not only about setting boundaries, it's also about how you carry yourself when the world tests those boundaries. Even when you shield your inner calm, life will inevitably bring moments of provocation, conflict, or insult. And it's here that the next lesson emerges, the one that determines whether your peace survives the storm or is swept away. We will now move into the next part of today's video, the power of response. True strength is not measured by how loudly you shout or how quickly you strike back. Strength is measured in your ability to choose how you respond. Every reaction is a fork in the road. One path pulls you deeper into chaos, the other leads you back to clarity. Think of a flame. If someone throws fuel on it, it flares up wildly. But if no one feeds it, it dies down. The same is true for conflict. Arguments, accusations, or insults are like sparks. If you feed them with anger, they burn hotter. If you refuse to give them fuel, they fade into silence. Staying calm does not mean you are weak. It means you have mastered yourself. Choosing silence over shouting, compassion over retaliation, or simply walking away instead of escalating, that is where true maturity lives. Your reaction is not for the other person. It is for you, to remind yourself of the person you are becoming. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it feels when you lose control in anger? You may win the argument, but you lose your peace. And what good is victory if it costs you your clarity? On the other hand, when you choose calm, you leave the situation lighter. You walk away with your dignity intact, carrying no regrets. In Zen practice, the mind is compared to a clear sky. Thoughts, insults, or conflicts are just passing clouds. If you chase every cloud, you exhaust yourself. But if you let them drift by, the sky remains unchanged. In the same way, not every offense deserves your attention. Not every insult deserves an answer. Reaction is power because it is choice. Anyone can lash out in anger. That is instinct. But to pause, breathe, and respond with intention, that is mastery. It is the difference between living as a prisoner of your emotions or as the guardian of your own life. Ask yourself, how often have you given away your power by reacting instantly? How many times have you regretted words spoken in anger, wishing you had stayed quiet? The truth is, each time you control your reaction, you reclaim ownership of your life. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain beats down. You cannot control the storm, but you can choose how to stand in it. You can panic, fight against it, or you can plant your feet, breathe, and let it pass. The storm always moves on. Your reaction is what determines whether you are left shattered or stronger. So let your response be your strength. Guard your dignity not through noise, but through restraint. Remember that self-control is not about suppression, it is about selection, choosing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to walk away. In the end, to control your reactions is to control your life. And that is the deepest form of freedom, to know that no one can take your peace unless you hand it to them. Every reaction we choose shapes the life we live. And once you learn to master your response, a new truth becomes clear. Sometimes the greatest act of strength is not to engage, but to step back. Distance, when chosen with intention, becomes a form of healing. And so, we will now move into the next part of today's video. Distance as the language of healing. Distance is not about anger. It is not about punishing others or proving a point. True distance is about respect for yourself, for your boundaries, and for the fragile process of recovery. When you step back, you are not walking away from people. You are walking toward your own wholeness. Healing cannot flourish in the same environment that caused the wound. Imagine trying to mend a broken bone while still running marathons. It would never set properly. The same is true for the heart. When you remain in a space that continues to hurt you, your spirit cannot realign. Distance is the cast that protects your inner healing, the silence that allows the wound to close. Often we confuse distance with rejection, but real distance is not rejection. It is preservation. It is a conscious act of self-love that says, my peace matters. My heart deserves room to breathe. You are not abandoning others. You are choosing to no longer abandon yourself. Distance creates clarity. When you step back, you no longer have to perform, explain, or prove your worth. You release the constant need to be understood, and instead you return to the simple truth of who you are. And in that stillness, you discover that the version of you who was always enough has been waiting patiently beneath all the noise. Think of distance as a sacred pause. It is not permanent exile, but a season of restoration. Just as fields must lie fallow before they can bear new crops, the soul sometimes needs space before it can bloom again. Distance is that fertile silence where energy is replenished and vision is renewed. In relationships, taking space often feels uncomfortable. Others may not understand your silence. They may accuse you of being cold, detached, or uncaring. But remember this: you are not responsible for how others interpret your healing. You are responsible only for honoring what your spirit needs. And if what you need is distance, then distance is the most honest answer you can give. When you allow yourself to step back, you create the conditions for transformation. Emotions that once felt overwhelming can be processed with clarity. Wounds that once seemed unbearable begin to soften. And slowly, without forcing, without rushing, healing begins to emerge. Not because others changed, but because you gave yourself the gift of space. Distance is powerful because it shifts the focus inward. Instead of pouring energy into convincing, fixing, or battling, you invest in rebuilding. You learn that you don't need to chase closure, apologies, or validation. You discover that your own silence, your own space, your own breath is enough. So if you feel the urge to create distance, trust it. It is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is not avoidance. It is alignment. By stepping back, you are not losing connection. You are finding the truest one, the connection with yourself. Healing is not about filling every silence with words or every absence with explanations. Healing is about listening to your heart, your body, your soul. And sometimes the only way to truly hear them is to create distance from the noise around you. In the end, distance is not about leaving others behind. It is about returning to yourself. It is the bridge that carries you from the place of pain to the place of power. And when you arrive there, you realize that distance was never about loss. It was always about coming home. From the silence of distance, we rediscover our strength. Distance teaches us that healing is not escape. It is returning to ourselves. And from that sacred return arises a deeper truth, the power to choose yourself. It is here that we will now move into the next part of today's video, the strength of choosing yourself. Choosing yourself is not selfishness. It is self-honoring. It is the brave act of saying, my peace matters, my well-being matters, my life matters. For too long, many of us have been trained to put others first, to sacrifice our own needs, to measure our worth by how much we give or endure. But healing whispers a different truth. You are not here to abandon yourself for the sake of acceptance. You are here to honor your life as sacred. Think of the sun. It shines not because the world asks it to, but because shining is its nature. In the same way, when you choose yourself, you no longer act out of obligation or fear of rejection. You act from authenticity, from the radiant light of who you are. Choosing yourself also means releasing the need for external validation. How often have you tied your happiness to someone else's approval or your peace to their acceptance? The truth is, the moment you stop chasing recognition outside of yourself, you step into freedom. You realize that no opinion, no applause, no permission is required for you to live fully. And sometimes choosing yourself means walking away. Walking away from relationships that drain you, walking away from habits that numb you, walking away from environments that suffocate your growth. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is not abandonment, it is alignment. Every ending that arises from choosing yourself is really a beginning, a doorway to a life that resonates more deeply with your soul. But choosing yourself is not only about what you leave behind, it is also about what you allow in. When you choose yourself, you give yourself permission to rest without guilt, to heal without apology, to grow without asking for approval. You prioritize your energy, protect your boundaries, and invest in your dreams. This shift does not make you selfish. It makes you whole. There is also a magnetic quality to this choice. When you honor yourself, you raise your energy. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that reflect your worth. The universe mirrors back what you have declared, that you are worthy of love, respect, and joy. By choosing yourself, you do not close doors, you open them. Yet this choice often requires courage. The world will sometimes call you selfish for protecting your peace. People may resist your boundaries, but remember, you cannot live your life as a performance for others. Choosing yourself is the foundation for choosing life authentically. Imagine a tree. If it tries to bend endlessly to please the wind, it will break. But if it grows rooted and steady, it not only survives the storm, it thrives. Choosing yourself is that rootedness. It is the decision to stand firm in your truth, no matter how the winds of expectation blow. So what does it look like in daily life? It looks like saying no when your body is tired. It looks like taking time for silence even when the world demands your voice. It looks like pursuing your passion even when others don't understand. It looks like trusting that your path, however unconventional, is still sacred. Choosing yourself is not about isolation. It is about alignment. It is about living in harmony with your truth. And from that harmony, you begin to give more authentically, love more freely, and live more fully. In the end, the strength of choosing yourself is not about turning your back on others. It is about turning toward your soul. It is the foundation of healing, the anchor of peace, and the doorway to joy. And when you finally dare to choose yourself, you discover that life itself begins to choose you back. When you dare to choose yourself, you step into a new level of freedom. You begin to honor your worth, protect your peace, and embrace life as your own sacred journey. Yet there is one final truth that makes this freedom complete: the art of letting go. And so we will now move into the next part of today's video: letting go to move forward. Letting go is often misunderstood. People think it means giving up or admitting defeat. But letting go is not failure, it is liberation. It is the conscious decision to release the weight of the past so that your spirit can finally breathe again. Imagine carrying a heavy stone on your back every day. Even if you learn to walk with it, you will never know the lightness of moving freely until you set it down. When you let go, you are not losing. You are creating space. Space for joy, space for love, space for new beginnings. The hands that cling tightly to the past cannot receive the blessings of the future. By loosening your grip, you make room for life to place something new, something beautiful into your open palms. The truth is, holding on keeps you stuck. It ties your energy to stories, wounds, and people who no longer belong in your next chapter. And as long as you remain bound to what has already ended, you cannot step into what is waiting for you. Letting go is not about erasing the past. It is about choosing not to be imprisoned by it. Letting go is also an act of trust. Trusting that the universe is not against you. Trusting that endings are not punishments, but redirections. Trusting that what is meant for you will not require you to beg, chase, or suffer endlessly. When you release, you are saying, I trust the flow of life more than I fear the unknown. This trust transforms everything. Instead of clinging to what is gone, you open yourself to what is coming. Instead of repeating old cycles, you step into renewal. Instead of resisting change, you allow it to shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and freer. Think of a tree in autumn. It does not cling to its leaves, no matter how beautiful they once were. It releases them because it knows that spring will come again. In the same way, you must learn to release relationships, habits, and emotions that no longer nourish you. By doing so, you allow new growth to emerge. Of course, letting go is not always easy. The mind wants closure, the heart wants certainty, and the ego wants control. But life rarely gives us these guarantees. Sometimes the apology never comes. Sometimes the explanation is never given. And sometimes the ending is silent. But even then, you still hold the power. the power to let go and to move forward with grace. Letting go is not about forgetting. It is about remembering differently. You carry the lesson, not the wound. You keep the wisdom, not the weight. And this shift allows you to step into the future with open hands and an open heart. In your daily life, letting go might look like unfollowing what no longer inspires you, setting down a dream that no longer aligns with your spirit, or forgiving yourself for mistakes you cannot change. It is not about erasing. It is about releasing. Not about denial, but about acceptance. And when you finally let go, you discover something unexpected. You feel lighter. The heaviness that once defined you dissolves. And in that lightness, you find clarity, strength, and peace. Letting go is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new one. It is the doorway to renewal, to freedom, to joy. And as you walk through that doorway, you will realize the past is not a prison unless you choose to carry its chains. By letting go, you break free. By letting go, you move forward. By letting go, you return to yourself. Peace is not weakness. It is not silence born from fear or passivity. True peace is the highest strength, the kind of strength that protects your soul when the world pulls at it from every direction. It is the quiet confidence that says, I will not be ruled by chaos. I choose stillness, I choose dignity, I choose myself. Through this journey, we've seen that peace is not one thing. It is many things woven together. It is silence that refuses to fuel conflict. It is energy that speaks louder than words. It is the choice to respond, not react. It is the courage to create distance when closeness hurts. It is the maturity to let go and the wisdom to prioritize your own well-being. And when all these threads are woven together, they form a shield that no drama, no insult, no storm can truly pierce. With this shield, you stop living as a prisoner of the outside world. You no longer move like a leaf blown by every wind of opinion, insult, or expectation. Instead, you live from the rooted ground of your own soul. This is freedom. Not the freedom others give you, but the freedom you claim by choosing peace again and again, even when the world tempts you with noise and conflict. But here is the truth. Peace is a daily practice. It is not something you learn once and keep forever. Every day you will be tested. Every day you will have the chance to lose yourself in arguments, negativity, or old wounds. And every day you will also have the chance to choose differently, to protect your stillness, to honor your energy, to walk with dignity. So let me ask you, what will you choose today? Will you cling to the chaos, or will you dare to step into the silence of your own power? If this message touched your heart, I invite you to take a moment and comment below. What is one thing you are ready to let go of in order to protect your peace? Your words may not only free you, but also inspire someone else who is watching, someone who needs to hear that they are not alone on this path. And remember, this journey is not ending here. In the videos to come, we will go even deeper into practices that help you cultivate resilience, compassion, and clarity, so that peace is not just an idea, but a lived reality. So stay with me, because the path of inner freedom is just beginning. For now, breathe deeply. Place your hand on your heart. Feel the stillness that is already within you. And know this, no matter what the world brings, your peace is your true power. Guard it, honor it, live from it.